KUAM and brought to you by Matson and the Adahi Tanu program. Cars Plus, reminding you to put your phone down while driving. Distractions won't get you there. Heads up, Guam. IP&E, fueling excellence. McDonald's of Guam, I'm loving it. And King's Restaurants, always open, always local, and serving up favorites for over 40 years.
Coming up on Guam's primetime news, several upset customers have spoken out at a hearing regarding back billing for power and water services. Nestor Lecanto has full details. Plus, with 7 locally confirmed cases of dengue fever, our Julia Santos found out what the Guam EPA is doing to fight the bite. And your vice speaker is seeking answers from the Department of Corrections regarding the erroneous release of detainees.
Hafade, everybody, and good evening. Well, a briefing is undergoing as I speak, hosted by the Guam Department of Education at their headquarters in Tijen in light of the recent cases of dengue fever. This meeting is for all interested parents, students, and staffers of the agency, as well as those associated with Harvest Christian Academy who may have questions or concerns. The Guam EPA will be on hand to provide more details on insecticides used to fight the bite. Here's agency spokesman Nick Lee.
We want to make sure that the community is aware of why these applications are done. We want to inform the community of the agency's role in terms of reviewing the safety data sheets and the product labels, which have to be both EPA registered and EPA established, and taking a look at the scope of work that was provided by the contractor to perform the spraying. It also gives the agency an opportunity to talk with the community about some of the basic do's and don'ts when it comes to using products that include words like kill or repel.
He notes the methods being used are not considered a long-term solution, and the number one method is the community's role in doing their part to eliminate breeding.
First of all, they have to be certified. They have to be permitted by the agency. The Guam Pesticides Act is very strict with this type of industry.
Also noted the long-term solution is the community's role in doing their part, as I said, to eliminate the potential for breeding grounds. If you're finding individuals or companies on social media advertising pesticide services, Lee says to verify that they are actually approved by the Guam EPA. Well, we tweeted just a few moments ago that a press release is issued by the Joint Information Center announcing that both Agata Johnson Middle School and Orta Talampago Elementary School will be closed on Tuesday. GDOE says that the superintendent, John Fernandez, is canceling classes at both schools in order for contractors to complete ongoing mitigation efforts to include clearing debris near ponding basins and overgrowth of vegetation. However, Harvest Christian Academy, which was also closed today, will resume classes as scheduled tomorrow. Once again, Harvest closed tomorrow, or open tomorrow, I should say. Ordet and Agata Johnson are closed tomorrow. Well, responding to what he says is a growing number of customer complaints of sky-high bills and other nightmare stories, Chairman on Utilities Senator Clint Bridgell is proposing to ban back billing for power and water service. Nestor Lecanto has more.
In a public hearing on his bill, Senator Ridgell explains why he introduced it.
I believe this practice is flawed, full of inconsistencies, and unfair. Most customers aren't given much of a reason for their bill. Customers are told just to accept the bill and pay the bill or face disconnection. I've heard story after story of how people get hit with massive back bills that they simply can't afford.
The majority of the back billing is for GWA service. General Manager Miguel Bordallo acknowledged that 2 different sets and a total of 72,000 defective meters had to be replaced. He explains then how they figure a customer's back billing.
By taking your average consumption from your corrected meter, so it's based on your usage patterns, and then applying it to the number of days in the billing period and comparing that consumption versus what was actually billed. And if the consumption is higher than what was actually billed, then the difference is what we backbill.
CCU member Simon Sanchez says back billing is standard industry practice. He says if they can't recover unpaid service, it means higher rates for all.
The whole idea is to balance the interests of the ratepayer with the failed meter with the interests of the other ratepayers who have a working meter, and try not to let free service go without any attempt to recover it. We recognize that most of these cases, people were getting more water than they were paying for because the meter was failing, right? And that's a problem. That's a universal problem of all utilities. They're to get in a working meter that accurately measures consumption.
For Guam's News Network, I'm Nestor Lecanto.
Well, now, open enrollment may have begun today for the fiscal year 2020 GovGuam health insurance program, but letters of protest by a pair of former carriers may now throw the whole process into question. Nestor's pulling double duty for us tonight. He has our next report. Well, in other news tonight, the committee vice chair for public safety, Senator Talina Nelson, received a response to the Freedom of Information Act request sent to DOC, but they were not the answer she wanted. Our Adriana Cotero reports.
We received items that we requested, but we did not receive the meat of the items to understand the problem.
Wanting to understand the problem and the reason for the multiple erroneous releases from the Department of Corrections, Committee Vice Chair on Public Safety Talina Nelson sent a Freedom of Information Act to DEPCOR Director Samantha Brennan, asking these questions. In the response, a letter was attached saying
that some documents are exempt according to the statute. However, the documents that are exempt are necessary to understand some of the issues.
But this response, you're not too satisfied.
No, absolutely not. The response is very vague and ambiguous, and so we just want to understand why.
According to Vice Speaker Nelson, the documents missing are the names of the individuals that were erroneously released, timelines of what transpired before and after each of the releases, and steps that were taken to correct the action. However, she says it seems as if there were no steps taken.
One time is too many, and now it's a third time that we're going about it, and so perhaps it's really the operations level.
As we've reported this month, a third inmate this year was free for a day, and the questions still stand. Were there corrective actions taken, and who were the officers involved? Nelson said she has asked the oversight chair of the Committee on Public Safety, Senator Pedro Terlahi, to invoke his right to retrieve the information.
The people need to see these documents. The people need to know exactly what happened.
In addition to tracing what happened, the committee will be following the department's progress of a master plan, as they were awarded $250,000 from the Department of Interior to conduct an assessment and master plan that ensures safety of the facility. The grant was reaching expiration at the end of this month, but they were given a one-year extension, something Nelson says she was unaware of.
I was not aware that the extension was granted months ago. I was not aware of that.
Is that concerning at all that
it
didn't inform?
No, well, it is concerning, but perhaps we weren't asking the right questions of her.
Vice Speaker Nelson says now they know what questions to ask as things are coming into the light, and she feels it's necessary to hold an oversight hearing as soon as possible.
Because it's been, 4 or 5 months and 3 erroneous releases, and if it's done by the same personnel within the chain, there needs to be some kind of accountability rather than just a verbal warning.
Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Adriana Cotero.
Now, open enrollment may have begun today for the fiscal year 2020 GovGuam health insurance program, but letters of protest by 2 former carriers may now throw the whole process into question.
New carrier Aetna International, who is represented on Guam through local insurer Netcare, was scheduled to begin its presentations and signing up of employees at various locations today through October 12th. A rate sheet released last week by the administration department shows the employee share is about the same or slightly lower than last year. But both former carriers, Calvo Select Care and Take Care, are now protesting the award to Aetna. In letters to Administration Director Edward Byrne, Select Care says its protest is based on the failure of the negotiating committee to apply the local preference policy, which is a violation of law. And the other incumbent carrier, Take Care, filed a letter of protest with DOA Friday, stating the award to Aetna was in violation of a court-ordered stay, while its earlier protest remains undecided. The health insurance contract is typically the government's largest annual contract. For Guam's News Network, I'm Nestor Lecanto.
Now, Select Care Plan Administrator Frank Campillo sent out an advisory saying, and I quote, "We are seeking this relief on behalf of thousands of GovGuam members who have shared their concerns with us." Now, if you happen to be a GovGuam employee or retiree and wish to have the option to choose, you can sign the petition at ipetitions.com. That's ipetitions.com. For the time being, DOA's Ed Burns says the estimated cost of the Aetna contract is nearly $109 million, depending on enrollment. In other news tonight, if the government wants to raise taxes or borrow more than $250 million in bond funding, it will need voter approval. Now, that's according to a new bill introduced by Congressman Michael Sinicolas that would make it a mandate in federal law. On his official Facebook page, he wrote that enacting it into the organic law means that, quote, "Our people will need to be satisfied that government spending and borrowing is in their best interest, and this alone will create the highest degree of accountability in public finance." Now, Adelup declined comment, saying the governor is focused on seeking Guam through the dengue virus and keeping people safe. The governor's office also added that there is a lot of time for politics later. The Sinicolas bill has been referred to the House Natural Resources Committee. Speaking of Guam's congressional delegate, he has turned down a request for a joint town hall meeting with Senator Amanda Shelton. The former asked the latter to introduce a legislative resolution in support of his H.R. 4262, a measure amending the Organic Act to force the payment of tax refunds within 90 days of filing. Shelton instead offered support for H.R. 3300. That was co-sponsored by Sinicolas, which would provide up to 75% in federal EITC reimbursements to territories. Shelton asked the delegate to co-host a joint town hall on the previous H.R., but Sinicolas denied the request, saying, quote, "Because I've introduced it in the House, a joint town hall, as you suggest, would not help advance the cause." The delegate said the senator should just introduce a resolution supporting his tax refund bill and listen to the people in an official public hearing on that resolution. Elsewhere, 2 motions have been filed in court for the Keith Castro homicide case. In July, Castro was beaten and shot to his death at a residence up in Jigo. The defendant, Josh Palacios, indicted for shooting Castro, has asked for an evaluation, and co-defendant Tomas Taitano, who is indicted for beating Castro with a baton, has asked for an investigator. The government did not oppose, and the court allowed both motions to move forward. The status hearing was scheduled for mid-November, and trial remains set for March. Well, all of the co-defendants' conditions in other news have been completed, but sentencing awaits a final defendant, Vince Benito, to enter a plea. He and various others were arrested for a retail theft that led to the largest prescription drug bust in the year 2017. Defense attorney John Morrison said they've agreed on the terms of the plea with the government. However, Judge Anita Sokola says she wants a hard copy of the agreement. A return date was scheduled for this month on the 14th. Well, on September 20th, GPD officers responded to a disturbance up in Jigo and found 82-year-old David Laguatnia. A woman that he knew had mentioned to officers that she and Laguatnia had gotten into an argument and that she was emotionally and physically abusive. Court documents state that along with shaking her to get her to calm down, Laguatnia in March of this year had threatened to cut the victim's head off with a machete that he was holding during an argument. When officers asked Laguatnia about the machete incident, he stated, quote, "I said that only to scare her." Laguatnia was charged with a single count of assault as a misdemeanor, a count of family violence as a misdemeanor, and also misdemeanor child abuse. Also tonight, 29-year-old Raphael Joshua Hutton was arrested after he allegedly broke into a pair of cars and was seen on surveillance footage. On September 20th, officers spotted Hutton pulling into the old Citibank parking lot, and when they approached him, they discovered luggage stolen from a car earlier in the day at Ipao Beach. Court documents state that police also found a case on Hutton's dashboard containing small resaleable bags and pipes, testing preemptive positive for drugs. When he denied burglarizing the cars, he did tell police he was on pretrial release and that he smokes ice. Hutton was charged with 2 counts of burglary of a motor vehicle, second-degree felony theft, theft as a third-degree felony, 2 counts of criminal mischief, and also drug possession. Well, we are just getting started, everybody. Please stay tuned. You're watching KUAM.
Get up-to-the-minute news, plus access to alerts, streaming radio, promotions, and more on your mobile device by downloading the KUAM News mobile app, available at the App Store now.
Okay. Can I be to Alan, please?
Attention passengers of flight AJ3004, your flight has been delayed.
It's the flavor that makes you go, woo. McDonald's new spicy barbecue glazed tenders and chicken sandwich. made with tender, juicy, all-white meat chicken.
Available in 4, 6, or 10-piece chicken tenders. Try the spicy barbecue crispy chicken sandwich too.
Half the day, I'm in the club.
Half a day, welcome to Two Lovers Point.
Half a day, I'm in the club.
Matson is in this community. We've been in this community for decades. We're gonna be in this community for decades to come. Things will get busy, things will get quiet, but we're gonna be here. We're your hometown carrier. And that matters to us.
Reliability is the core of our business. We take pride in ensuring that we arrive in Guam on time as scheduled.
It's our local employees who understand the market, who understand the business, and provide that hard work for you each and every day.
When we hold ourselves to high standards, our customers also hold us to high standards. We establish good business relationships that turn into friendships. That's why it's so important to be here and be trusted by your customers. We want you to trust Matson like your friend, like your family.
Choose, press, play. Check out the latest flicks at home on Docomo Pacific View It On Demand, powered by TiVo. Here's our top picks for the month. Choose, press, play, and enjoy endless entertainment with View It On Demand, powered by TiVo on Docomo Pacific. Better to...
It's a special delivery to your inbox every week with your KUAM News Roundup, program advisories, and promotions. Sign up for the weekly KUAM Digital Digest today on KUAM.com.
Welcome back, everybody. You vote where you live. According to the Guam Election Commission, that's what the law says, and that's what the motor voter registration program is aiming to enforce, much to the chagrin of one man who took his concern to the Election Commission's board. Here's more on this issue with Chris Barnett.
John Duenas Cruz doesn't want to vote in Dedido, but the law says he has to vote in the village he lives in, and Cruz says he lives in Dedido. Yet he was back before the Guam Election Commission for the second month in a row to plead his case. This time, Cruz throwing a curveball, asking about the reasons for districting on Guam.
Just because the way that the districting is, or the assignment is done, that there could be maybe gerrymandering going on.
Cruz also raising issues about the information he gives DMV being shared with the GEC because of the motor voter law.
Are they certified to provide information about being a registered voter
Cruz,
in Guam?
if I may ask you, what does this have to do with you voting, living in Dedido and voting in Agagna?
Okay,
obviously this is Reverend Tax.
Cruz clearly frustrating commissioners with his train of thought.
What we have told you is what the law says. And we've spent quite a bit of time, and the issue is the law says you have to vote where you reside. You've come in and told us that you reside in Dedido. You have to vote in Dedido.
My place of residence is Dedido, as defined by law.
Your place of residence, right.
But I do not live in Dedido. According to the law, I reside in Dedido. But my wallet
it's not the law that says you reside. You said you reside in Dedido.
I have no choice.
After 10 more minutes of a who's on first line of questioning, Cruz was told that if he shows up to vote in Agagna, even though he lives in Dedido, he would be given a provisional ballot. Cruz was told to put his questions in writing after Seville told him the public comment period of the meeting was, quote, not a question and answer period for you to examine the commissioners. GEC Executive Director Maria Pangilinan says mayoral elections are affected when voters don't vote where they live. She tells KUAM the motor voter registration helps GEC reconcile voter lists ahead of the 2020 mayoral elections. For Guam's News Network, Chris Barnett reports.
Well, speaking of the Election Commission, that agency is now looking at how a $600,000 budget shortfall will affect operations in the next fiscal period, which, as you know, starts next week. The GEC requested a budget of $1.9 million, but when it was all said and done, the agency was given a budget of $1.4 million for fiscal 2020, which was the same budget they received in the previous fiscal period. Executive Director of the GEC, Maria Pangilinan, is conducting a budget forecast to find out how the shortfall will affect operations in the upcoming fiscal year. She plans to present her findings to the GEC board in October, and a determination will be made about whether or not to approach Oversight Chair Senator Joe San Agustin asking for more funds. The shortfall is $592,000, according to the GEC, as in 2018, the agency received supplemental budget funding totaling $298,000, covering primary and general election costs. Time to talk about oversight hearings, everybody, as that very event is in the works for the Guam Memorial Hospital to address a number of ongoing issues that have yet to be resolved. Legislative Health Oversight Chair Senator Therese Terlahi says the hearing is in the works primarily to address the hospital's electric panel, electronic health record system, and leaking roof. The senator says issues with the hospital's ailing infrastructure have led to a chain reaction of other problems at Guam's only public hospital. Here is the senator.
So they have a plan to replace the elevators in phases so that we have some operational, but power surges, water leakage, these have all impacted the elevators.
She says she also plans to address nursing shortages, which she says impacts GMH's ability to place nurses when needed. While Terlahi acknowledges nurses did receive slight pay increases, she is concerned about the high turnover of nurses at the island's only public hospital. Now, we asked the senator why there is not more support for GMH's laundry list of issues. She responded by saying the hospital should be getting more attention.
These issues were, they're very apparent when the rain is coming down and the elevators are stopping. It should be urgent in everyone's mind.
Now, another issue that will likely be touched on during that hearing is the recent news that GMH did not pay $8.8 million in employee withholding taxes. CFO Benita Manglonia was forced to step down after the revelation, with the oversight hearing to be held on October 3rd at the Guam Congress Hall at 2 in the afternoon. And also tonight, an international preschool has opened its doors in the island's tourism capital. Owner Meilani Tamandong of the Giving Tree says they aim to provide high-quality preschool and childcare for young local children and the kids of island tourists who want some American-style schooling for their kids while enjoying their stay on Guam. The school in Tuman held its opening house at the Lotte Hotel on Saturday. It features several large rooms for different age groups, with the Giving Tree now having 3 locations with the opening of the International Preschool. The company provides STREAM curriculum, physical and cognitive development, music and movement, and a pre-K academy for pre-kindergarten prep. Open enrollment is now ongoing. Their number 646-TREE, that's 646-TREE. Well, stay tuned. Sports is coming up
next. What are you going to do now? How are you going to push? How are you going to live? It all depends on you. You ain't got time to be complaining. You ain't got time to be angry. So if you're feeling weak and you in that dark place, you better find the light within yourself, because when it's all said and done, we are all brothers and sisters in battle. I ask you to be strong. Whatever challenge you face, there is no obstacle greater than you. Be productive, be powerful, and from the bottom of my heart, my name is Coach Payne, and I'm asking you to conduct your business. Go!
What's that? An Alpha Insurance customer needs a claim settled immediately? I'm on it.
Agent Alpha. In the event of an accident, theft, or breakdown, each of our Alpha